say the mascot's name, those colors will resonate with the fan or the student or the parent. It could be a brown t-shirt with yellow Hawaiian Islands going across the top. Easy call. Making something relatable to the end user is key when it comes to creating designs, creating brand awareness, and making the sale. Outside of using familiar colors, everything doesn't have to be location specific, but when you make location specific stuff using city names, using sports teams colorways, using popular cities, when you do stuff like this, you create the brand awareness for your brand. This is tapping a big audience with a built-in fan base, and all you're doing is going based off of the city, the location, and the colorway. Does that mean that your business or brand has to be built solely around that? No, but all that's doing is maybe that one t-shirt is now bringing a lot of awareness around your brand. That one t-shirt design is driving a lot of traffic to your website. All you're doing is casting the line out there and letting the bait sit in the water. If your already designs that you're making now is not drawing any attention, how are you supposed to get that attention to your website? The easiest way to do that is to make something very relatable to drive the traffic to your website. That's all you're doing. Some people, when they hear this advice, they think, all right, I'm from Idaho. He said I have to make all my t-shirts based around Idaho. I don't want my brand of business to be solely about Idaho, but that's what he's saying to do, so I'm gonna change everything up. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is use these colorways and these locations to draw attention to your actual website. How are you going to get people excited about your t-shirts? How are you going to get eyeballs on your t-shirts? How are you even going to let people know you exist? By making the sell easier on yourself and offering something that is relatable to the end user. Now, let's say you didn't even want to go this route. Let's say you're like, man, I don't even want to fall into this trap. I don't even want to do nothing like that. I know my designs are the best and I don't have to fall back on any of these weird tactics that he's talking about. I want my designs to speak for themselves. If you started a Shopify account, if you started an online store and you haven't made any sales yet, that means that your designs are not relating to your end user. That means nobody is excited about your new brand. Nobody is excited about your online store. And the reality check is maybe your designs aren't it. That is a very tough pill to swallow, and a lot of people don't want to believe that. The harsh truth is, if you've already released something and nobody's buying from you and nobody's coming to your store and nobody's purchasing anything from you, maybe you're making stuff that your audience doesn't relate to. Maybe you're making stuff that your audience doesn't get. Maybe you're making and selling stuff that nobody's interested in. So instead of blaming the internet or blaming your online store or blaming the customers, take accountability and blame yourself. Maybe the stuff that you're making isn't connecting with the end user. Does that mean shut your store down and just quit? No. All it means is maybe you have to figure out what audience that you want to actually target, figure out who can actually benefit from your t-shirts. Now you start to target them. Now let's say you do that. Let's say you're like, all right, I was trying to sell to the world. Let me start selling to a very small group of people that I think can benefit from my t-shirts. And let's say you go full force and you start targeting your marketing to that specific group. And let's say that group doesn't buy from you. You have to be able to check your own ego and be like, all right, maybe I got to switch some of these designs up. Maybe these designs are too plain. Maybe these designs aren't hitting with this audience. Let me switch some things up. That does not mean to quit. That doesn't mean to shut it down. You have to start making the minor adjustments to figure out what's going on. There's too many people out there that start out doing this, don't make any sales, and then say, all right, this ain't for me. If you're willing to give up that easy, maybe it isn't for you. Because sometimes it could just be a small minor tweak. Maybe they didn't like the font that you were using. Maybe they didn't like what the t-shirt looked like. Maybe they didn't like the t-shirt blank. Maybe they didn't like the colors that you chose. Sometimes it could be very, very small things that you could tweak and change to create a way bigger impact. So sometimes when I design stuff, and I put it out and I test it out and it doesn't hit and it doesn't go well, doesn't mean that I trash that design. I stick that design back on my hard drive and then I'll revisit it later on. Sometimes all it needs is just a few minor tweaks to create a little bit more attention around it. The last thing I want to talk about is logo t-shirts. A lot of people start online stores and they just sell their logo on a t-shirt, and maybe they got 18 different colorways in a million different fonts, and still nobody is buying anything. A lot of times it's because your logo and your brand name doesn't mean nothing to nobody. You can't be mad at the audience. You can't be mad at your customers or potential customers. You can't be mad at nobody, because nobody really cares about the brand name and the logo if that brand name and logo doesn't mean nothing to them. And then sometimes it could be like your brand name is like Money Makers United or something like that. And you're like, man, there's so many money makers in this world. They need my t-shirts and blah, blah, blah. And that's cool. But if there's no substance behind it, and if there's nothing creative around what you're doing, there's really nothing for the customer to buy into. If the customer is a stranger and brand new, this isn't a family member, this isn't one of your friends, this isn't a coworker, I'm talking a complete stranger. Why would a complete stranger invest their hard-earned money with Money Makers United? Why should they spend their money and buy your t-shirt from you? You have to be able to offer your target audience or your customers more than just your logo t-shirt. And I know it's hard because a lot of you guys spend a lot of money with graphic designers creating the logo, and you want to put the logo on everything because you're emulating some of these other established brands. But what you have to remember is these established brands built something behind their logo. So now their logo is recognizable and people want it. But before they got to that point, they had to create the hype and engagement and excitement around their brand to get to that point. A lot of people want to emulate that end result, but they're forgetting about all the hard work and years before of creating the brand awareness to get their logo to be recognizable and to mean something. It's a lot harder to just drop your logo and try to build off of that. And I know that because I've done it too, and I've failed miserably a bunch of times. I've did it all from trying to create a character, like a mascot for the brand, doing different logos, but always failed when it came to selling a logo t-shirt. So what I did was I stopped doing that, and I started to make designs relatable to the end user and figured out how to create excitement around my brand without putting any logos on my t-shirts. Because I knew that a new customer, a complete stranger, isn't coming to my online store based on my logo. They're coming to my store based on the designs that I made that they can relate to. I hope this video right here helps some people out. I know it's a long video, but I know there's a lot of people still in this same boat that have online stores that haven't made any sales. The key to this whole thing is understanding who your target audience is, understanding your customer, and then supplying your customer with what you know they need. How do you do that? You make stuff that they're already interested in. That's all you have to do. If your customers have a general interest in skateboarding, you're not gonna make any sales with that target audience if you're offering them t-shirts about rollerblading. You see what I mean? You have to play to your customers' interests. If your customers are into skateboarding, you're gonna make skateboarding related t-shirts to spark their interest. You're not gonna make any sort of sales if you're offering rollerblading t-shirts to skateboarders. It doesn't work that way. And this is just very, very dumbed down raw information, but basically that's what it comes down to, is creating t-shirt designs relatable to the end user. This is all I do for any of the brands that I run. I make designs relatable to the end user, and that's only to create brand awareness. The only way I'm gonna get people excited about my brand and interested in my brand is by making stuff that they can relate to. Make the sale easier on yourself so your designs sell themselves. Hopefully this information helps you out there. If you got any questions, make sure you leave it in the comments. Follow me on Instagram, Big Brando TV. Catch you guys on the next one, man. Yeah. What's happening, everybody? Boy Big Brando, and welcome to another episode of Back to Basics. Today we're talking all about pricing. Now, as a fair warning, I know this video is going to be very long because I'm going to try to touch base on a lot of different things in this one video right here. From breaking down your material costs to figuring out pricing if you're operating as a print shop, contract printing, printing for others. If you're running your own brand, retail, clothing brand, whatever it is. And I know there's a lot of people that watch my videos that operate solely off of vinyl cutter and heat transfer vinyl because they do a lot of custom work. So like I said, I'm gonna try to touch on all of these key points and break a lot of stuff down. I apologize for the noise right now because we do have some construction going on next door. So if you hear drills and saws and stuff going off, I apologize right now. So let's jump right into it. First things first, let's talk about HTV, heat transfer vinyl. If you buy your vinyl like I do in the 5-yard roll, you'll know that it's a lot cheaper to go that route instead of buying it from Hobby Lobby or Michael's or any of these other craft stores that'll sell you like 18 inches of vinyl for like $12 or $13 or whatever it is. In a pinch, that stuff is cool because you can just walk into Michael's and buy the stuff. But if you're using a lot of black, a lot of white, if there's certain colors that you're using a lot of, there are huge advantages to order vinyl somewhere else. So for the sake of this video and as an example, we're going to be talking about Econotransfer's Econo V. This is Econotransfer's standard heat transfer vinyl. I talked about it in the last video when we're talking about transfers. So we're going to be using them as an example when we're talking about pricing. Now, when you're buying vinyl like that, it comes in a 20-inch roll by 5 yards. There's a price break when you buy 5 yards, 10 yards, and I think you could buy like the full roll. I forget how many yards it is, but it's coming off of a 20-inch roll by 5 yards. So this is heat transfer vinyl. We're talking Econo V, 20-inch roll by 5 yards. Retail price for this on their site as of today is $32. So like I said, 20-inch roll, 5 yards, $32. So if we do the breakdown and you buy this roll for $32, that means 1 yard comes out to $6.40, roughly $6.40 for a yard. If you break it down even more, there's 3 feet in a yard. So every foot comes out to like $2.13, a little more, a little less. That's per foot. And remember, this is 20 inches by 1 foot. And then if you needed to break this down even smaller, because maybe you're doing smaller pieces, just break this down to figure out exactly how much you need to charge. But if you're just going based off of this, if you charge per foot, your material cost for this vinyl is only $2.13. So let's say you're doing front print with a back print, and you could get all of that on a 1 foot piece. Your material cost just for the vinyl alone is gonna be $2.13. Easy call, right? So let's say that your blank t-shirt, for the sake of this video, we'll say every blank t-shirt's gonna be about $3. $3 for the shirt, $2.13 for the heat transfer vinyl. This does not include your labor. This is only material costs. It costs you $3 for that blank t-shirt. It costs you $2.13 for the vinyl that you pressed onto the t-shirt. So into this t-shirt, material cost, you're at $5, $5.13, $5.15, whatever it is. But that is your actual material cost for this heat transfer vinyl t-shirt. So if you're running a custom t-shirt business and you're like, I gotta figure out how much material I'm gonna be using, maybe it's a 2-color job, double that. So if you're using, let's say, black and red, that's the design. Right? So you're gonna use $2.13 of black, $2.13 of red, plus your $3 t-shirt. Now you're into this t-shirt for what? $2.13 plus $2.13 is $4.26, plus the $3, you're into that t-shirt for what? $7.25, 26 cents. Your customer has to pay that because that's what your materials cost just to create that t-shirt. See what I mean? So when you buy your vinyl by the 5 yard roll, buying bigger will always be cheaper. It's gonna look like it costs more, but the price break per yard will be a lot cheaper. Because I believe if you bought this same exact vinyl by the yard, I think it comes out to like 8 something. But if you buy it in a 5 yard roll where the price break is, it comes down to $6.40. So it's a $2 difference per yard when you buy in a 5 yard roll. See what I mean? So when you're doing this, make sure you break everything down to the smallest increment. That way you can figure out your material costs. Maybe you're not even gonna use all 1 foot, 20 inches by 12 inches of this vinyl. So break it down in half. It'll come out to like what, $1.07 or something like that if you only use 6 inches by 20. So as long as you could break your vinyl down like this and do some basic math. I'm not the sharpest, but doing this basic math is very, very easy of breaking stuff down. You'll be good to go when it comes to heat transfer vinyl, figuring out pricing for your material costs. Once again, this is not including labor. This is only for your materials. $3 t-shirt, $2.13 for the vinyl. Only your material costs. So like I said, this is gonna be good for a lot of people that are just running custom t-shirt businesses, trying to figure out how much they should charge, when you look at your competition and your competition's charging $25, $30 for that custom t-shirt, and you know that they're using a $3 blank t-shirt and they're only using $2 worth of vinyl, you can see what their profit is actually gonna be. This is how you can figure out what your profit should be. How long does it take you to cut out that vinyl? How long does it take you to design it? How long does it take you to press that stuff in? It's gonna be based on you and your own labor. That's something that I can't tell you what it's worth. I don't know what your labor's worth. I say this in all my videos. You might just be coming to this video looking for an easy answer, but if I gave you an easy answer and I value your labor at something that I have no idea about what you're doing, and you're going based off of that, you're shooting yourself in the foot, because I don't know what your labor's worth. Only you know what your labor is valued at. So figuring out your own labor should be based on how long it takes you to do something, how long it takes you to design the design, how long it takes you to cut it out, weed it out, press it onto the t-shirt. Are you going back and forth with your customer over the design? Are you going back and forth with your customer, just consulting them on what they want to get into? All of that stuff adds up after a while, because you're spending your time dealing with this customer, working on this one certain job. So do not let anybody on YouTube tell you what your labor's worth, because nobody on YouTube knows you personally. So if somebody's telling you you should be charging this for your labor, you're basically working for them, because now they're valuing your time at a certain dollar amount and they don't even know you. So going based off of, let me see what Big Brando charges, let me see what this person charges for their labor, is not going to benefit you. And it doesn't benefit you because my labor and your labor is going to be valued different. I know how much money I could be making doing something else. You should know how much money you could be making doing something else. Use your day job as a starting point. If your employer says your labor is worth $20 an hour, $20 an hour is what your employer values your time at. So if you're making anything under $20 an hour, you're going to be valuing yourself a lot lower than what your day job charges you. You see what I'm saying? I'm not saying you think that your labor is worth $500 an hour, because that's unrealistic when you're talking about just custom t-shirts. But factor in how much money you could be making if you weren't making those t-shirts. You see what I mean? Now you know what your time is actually valued at. If your day job said, hey, you know what, you're only worth $7 an hour, are you gonna work that day job? No, you're gonna be like, no, my time is worth a lot more than that. I'm not gonna take no $7 an hour. That's how you should be treating your own business. Same exact way. Do not let somebody on YouTube value your labor if they don't know you personally. You know what I mean? That's something you have to figure out. So once again, this right
And she said, I'll be off the air this week. As an update, the White House has confirmed receipt of the assassination plot against me. It's manipulative language intentionally to trick people into thinking she's going into hiding because of an assassination plot.
And I saw an account today that's following all this, and they say, well, the White House has confirmed the threat. It's like, no, the White House confirmed receipt of the threat. This is an important distinction. This isn't minor. And again, I go back, I have not spent any time on any of my show or my social media going after Candace Owens for any of this stuff, right? I'm like, whatever. But my issue comes down to, okay, fine. Once again, if you're going to make this sort of accusations, if it were me, if you were making these accusations about people I loved, I would want more evidence than what you're presenting. The other thing that I don't understand is this. If you honestly believe that you have uncovered something that could potentially blow the lid off of one of the most consequential conspiracies, and I don't say conspiracy pejoratively, I mean it in the actual word and what the word means. Okay, look, I've done a little intel analysis in my life where I was tracking terror cells. My father was a homicide detective, and he will tell you that if you really do have all of these sources that are providing you information, every time you go out there and publicly talk about private sources close to people that are doing it, you essentially destroy that source's ability to give you future information, because now they lose access and placement as the organizations that you're investigating shut down. So my question is this, for anybody that is again, just genuinely interested in this, and, you know, again, there's plenty to be interested in. If your goal is really to get to the truth, to the bottom of what happened, what really happened with Charlie, if that is, why would you go about doing it this way as an investigation?
You wouldn't.
I know why you would do it as a content creator. I don't know why you would do it as someone that's trying to get to the bottom of, again, a horrific crime.
You know, I watched her show today. It's very female coded. And that means She talked a lot about Charlie's clothing, and it was very much like Charlie was trying to find something to wear, and I said, you can't wear that jacket, and it's very emotional, social, female coding. Guys don't talk or think this way, and that's why she also has the Stanley, thermos or whatever. It's a very female trendy thing, and it's been reported previously that she and Brett Cooper and others. It's the womanosphere, right? The trad wife, prominent conservative women. It's a true crime drama, and it plays really, really well among women, and I think that's the play she's making. But let's jump to the story from Fortune. Hey, a lot of big news about Candace. Inside the economics of Candace Owens' media empire and the Macron lawsuit threatening to unravel it. Oh boy, let's talk about nitty-gritty inside stuff because I got information. So they say 5 years ago, Candace Owens was a mid-tier political operative working for Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA. Now she's a globally famous conservative firebrand with one of the fastest-growing independent media platforms in the U.S., raking in cash through controversy. But the same contrarian playbook that launched her solo career now threatens the media empire she built. Her company generates up to $10 million in revenues per year, according to an analysis by Fortune, implying that the company's valuation would be multiples of that. I would actually estimate, it's a broad estimation, but I think 10 million's low. 10 million makes sense if all she is doing is sponsor spots. Mm-hmm. But if you want to talk about just her podcast, perhaps.
The left and right must unite. By the way, guys. All right, this is what we're gonna do. Today we're gonna open with the theme song. I am not a musician and I don't even play the guitar, okay guys? But here's the song. All right. The left and the right, they must.
I guess I'll say this because I said it before, but we do more than that. And, I guess the difference is I do like 5 different shows. So it's more granular, where she has one big show. We have a bunch of smaller shows, so maybe. But I think she probably does closer to 20 million or so. But who knows? Who knows? Revenues are down, although her show seems to be doing very well. They're now talking about this massive lawsuit. The conservative podcaster and provocateur is facing a high-stakes defamation lawsuit filed by French President Emmanuel Macron and Brigitte Macron, the First Lady. The suit is set to test whether the controversy as currency oeuvre that made, is that how you pronounce that? Oeuvre? I have no idea. That made Owens rich and gave her a media brand that reaches tens of millions of people can survive what experts say will be an immensely costly legal battle. The 219-page complaint filed in Delaware Superior Court in July of 2025 accuses Owens of orchestrating a campaign of global humiliation by promoting the conspiracy theory that Brigitte Macron was born male. The plaintiff's weapon of choice, Claire Locke, the firm that has extracted a record-shattering $787.5 million settlement from Fox News on behalf of Dominion, the largest media defamation payout in American history. The Macrons vehemently deny Owens' allegations. Owens has vowed to fight the suit. Interestingly, the suit alleges that spreading false information is essentially Owens' business model. The complaint names 3 defendants: Candace Owens personally, Candace Owens LLC, her Delaware company, and George Tom Inc., presumably named after her husband, George Farmer, who is directly involved in the business and operates her website and podcast distribution. In naming all 3 parties, the suit takes aim not only at Owens personally, but also her entire known business infrastructure. She won't win. She will not win this. I can't say that I'm psychic or that everything I say is going to come true, but she won't. I will say with, look, I'm willing to make predictions and try and make vague predictions. Maybe at this time something like this would happen, but who knows? I could be wrong. With this, I'll say she will lose for 2 big reasons. Brigitte Macron is not a man. It's not so much whether Brigitte Macron is a man or is not. I mean, who knows? Maybe, I guess.
I don't need proof.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't want proof. The issue is, it's kind of a bold, ridiculous, and hard to prove thing that is going to land on defamation per se, which is, it is so humiliating and damning. Because it's not just that Brigitte Macron is a man, but apparently Candace has also insinuated it's a pedophilic network or something, or at least that's what people are posting online, saying it's not just about this. There's more here. And apparently there's some reporting that Candace has claimed Brigitte Macron may be Emmanuel Macron's dad.
Yeah.
But that makes no sense because Brigitte Macron is much smaller. But whatever, I guess. But here's the real reason. When the French government says we're going to your courts, the way the world works is not some rigid contractual letter of the law math. People can consistently fall for this. They believe that, there's a viral clip I watched, or the Thomas Crown affair.
Yeah.
Where Pierce Brosnan signs the contract, and then they start busting out laughing, like, we got you. And then he gets up and says, now explain to your board why you paid $30 million more than everyone else offered, and they look all shocked. But the thing is, if you ever signed a contract, and then as soon as you signed it, the guy started laughing, saying they got you, that contract is not going to be binding. You're not going to go into a court and the judge is going to be like, was there something in the contract you didn't read? And be like, yeah, we absolutely did not agree that I'd sign over power of attorney. The judge is going to be like, okay, contract is out. You it's the stupidest idea. So here's what really matters. When the French government says, we want to stop Candace, I imagine what happens is, Candace has claimed Trump called her and told her, like, maybe you got to back off the story or whatever. Okay. If the Macrons were actually trying to stop Candace, I think the most likely scenario is they call the State Department and they say, this is causing us problems in our country and we don't want these tensions. And the State Department says, what can we do about it? And then all that needs to happen is Emmanuel Macron says, listen, we are telling you to make it stop however you can. And if you don't, there's going to be problems. And France is massive. So it's not like France can control what the United States does. But the U.S. has to negotiate with France, has to cut deals with France, has to work with France and NATO, and they don't want problems. And it's stupid. So likely what I'd imagine happens, the State Department says, file a lawsuit, go through the normal route, and we'll make sure you win. I don't see a reality where Candace goes up against the French government and the U.S. backs her over a NATO ally.
So here's the thing here. Candace Owens is clearly an extremely savvy media operator. She is very charismatic. Some people would even say she's easy on the eyes. She is also a good DEI commentator for right-wingers to put on this sort of pedestal. And you know, it's really unfortunate that she's really willing to peddle bullshit and rumors and spin up fake narratives to try to get clicks. It's clear to me that she has an axe to grind. I don't think this is just ignorance. I think what she knows, that she knows that she's spreading stuff that is BS, but she believes it will get her clicks. And I believe somebody wronged her in the past, and she is trying to like avenge that.
So you think that it's an axe to grind as opposed to just trying to capitalize on what is a hot story?
It's a few. I think it's both. And also, this gives her endless amounts of attention. This lawsuit may cost her a lot of money, but her husband is allegedly worth over $200 million. He has a lot of family money, and he's, I believe, allegedly the former CEO of Parler. So, you know, the amount of attention that this is giving her, you know, she knew that this. I don't know if she believes what she's alleging about Bridget Macron, but I think she does know that it'll bring her a ton of attention. It's a transvestigation of obviously, like, you know, a very prominent woman, a prominent European leader's wife.
Do you have evidence that she's a woman? Elad.
The evidence was that, or the evidence that she was a man was from two French bloggers or something, and they just had a couple of pictures of them, of her looking like a man allegedly. But I think as far as the media savviness goes, though, if you're trying to get your name out there, you want a lot of to put a lot of bullshit out there and then have them get mad at you and sue you because like this is the Streisand effect at hand. And then I think there's also something to say about all the other bullshit she peddles, because she's been pushing a lot of dumb stuff for a while. She actually said Stalin was Jewish. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Lyndon Johnson.
Something about the Frankists. I mean, there's a long list of random stuff.
Lyndon Johnson was Jewish. Listen.
And then I think she was also a flat earther for a little bit. She's willing to peddle whatever. And then, I'm sorry, one last thing. She'll get like messages or alleged tips and just, I don't know, won't vet them at all. For example, earlier when she said something about like a text message about Andrew Colville allegedly getting money, it's just like, yeah, somebody texted me this. And that's it. Well, somebody could text you anything. Like I have a source that says such and such. But if there's no vetting.
I want her number so I can text her about the ice wall.
Hey, can you text me right now that you think Candace works for Israel so that I can then say on the air, I just received a tip that Candace works for Israel?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. There's no vetting. And it's just like some people are dumb enough where the rhetoric, the way she phrases things could come off like to an unmedia savvy person like, oh, this is convincing.
This is basic manipulative rhetoric, social engineering, where you say things so that the other person makes an assumption and then you can't be held liable for it, and you always have plausible deniability. That's the game she's playing. That's why everyone keeps pointing out she's making insinuations, and then people go, she never said that. No, but she said 80 things where the Sudoku puzzle concludes.
Well, I wish at some point people would think about this from the standpoint of, okay, if somebody was saying this about you, would you think to yourself, oh, well, they didn't say me? Or would you think, well, they're obviously implying me? And all I want from this, especially because there's a lot of conservatives watching this, is do we still believe in like standards of truth? Do we still believe in like objective standards of truth?
We are in a post-truth society.
Not if it confirms my priors. If it confirms my priors, then it does not matter if it is true at all.
This is the point of vagaries.
Yeah.
If someone believes, 5 untruths, and you come out and say something that is incongruous with their worldview, they reject you. But if you say something very vague, let them fill the dots in, you're correct. And that's how she builds mass audience, by being correct to everybody, because she's actually not saying anything specific. She's letting people fill in the gaps of what they want to believe. What I do want to say real quick, though, if I were to say Bridget Macron is a hog, okay, I can't be sued by the French government for that. But when you say that Bridget Macron is a man, you're getting into defamation per se territory, where you're accusing someone of some kind of... It's something disgusting and humiliating, which is inherently in and of itself detrimental to you, your life, or whatever. I think she's going to get Alex Jones'd, but I think they're going to come and they're going to take everything from her. I can't understand what she thinks the long-term play is. That's why I don't understand.
Well, her husband's rich. I don't think she's financially secure no matter what happens.
They're married. He's on the hook too. They're going to go for him. His company's named in the lawsuit.
I wonder if he...
Well, presumably they say.
I wonder if the British government would protect him.
Aren't they based in the U.S.?
I don't know, but if he's a lord, if he's somehow involved.
I don't know how how passionate Keir Starmer is about.
Yeah, I don't imagine that he is
about the peerage in the UK.
Wouldn't it be like really funny if just like the UK and France go to war for the first time in like 800 years because Candace called Bridget Macron a man?
I think one of the reasons why this is so
Englishmen
important.
like, yes!
I think the reason why this is so important is because this actually, I think, like driving conspiracies really draws away from people dealing with like legitimate politics that they could have the potential to influence. So instead of learning about your local congressperson or what they're doing in the House and Senate or what's going on in the Supreme Court, no, we're paying attention to whether or not Bridget Macron has a cock or whether or not Charlie Kirk was murdered by Israel. Although they're baselessly though.
I have a correction too. I should say they start of the first war in 200 years. Sorry, it hasn't been that long. They've actually fought not that long ago. But I to what you were saying, Elad, this is the point about declining viewership and ad rates. Maybe it's fair to say that Candace actually does 10 million because no advertiser really wants to be on a show about Bridget Macron having a dong. Advertisers want to be on normal content. They want to be on sports. Everybody's watching. They're relaxing. Nothing's offensive. You know, it's just fun stuff. And, you know, perhaps when she makes this kind of weird content, she gets more views. She does make more money than the average political commentator, but the CPMs are actually still very low.
The thing that has always struck me about this, I remember when Candace first started making these claims, and I was like, okay, you know, like, look, I remember a time where I watched a lot of things Candace was doing and appreciated her commentary and appreciated her contributions to the conservative movement. If she's very convinced, I just would like to see substantial evidence to back it up. And again, I had really thought that the majority of sympathy in this entire case was going to be for Erica. And what has shocked me is I feel like it isn't. And again, if you're going to imply, if you're going to insinuate that Erica, if she wasn't directly involved, knew something about it, let it go is hiding truth or whatever it is, just please show me something significant to justify that. Because again, I go back to, I think about this from my perspective. If somebody did this to my wife after I was gone, I would be furious unless they could actually produce hard evidence.
The last thing I'll say on this before we go to the next story is she will never be sued by Turning Point. Turning Point USA, oh boy, do they have grounds to sue Candace Owens, but they're not going to.
Yeah.
They're not going to because the law doesn't work to protect you or any meaningful way. Like I've told this before that we had someone commit a crime on our property and then threaten us. They got arrested and charged, and then they threatened to use the legal process through this criminal charge. It almost seemed like it was intentional to exploit it and gain access to private information and other information. And they made the argument that in order for our defense, we need access to private information. And we were like, okay, drop the charges then. We're not going to, we can't.
Yeah.
And so here's what happens. If Turning Point were to sue Candace Owens, there would be depositions and discovery. And they'd be required to turn over certain communications, which I'd imagine are going to be embarrassing and depending on the context, they can be incriminating over certain issues. I'm not saying in the killing of Charlie Kirk or anything like that, but there's going to be conversations about donors, things that she will then use on her show.
Yeah.
And it will give her a year's worth of content. So they can do nothing about her saying any of this stuff. And she'll just keep saying it. And the fascinating thing is, she's been able to get more than 2 months of content out of saying nothing. No evidence, no real.
Well, can we distinguish something? Because I hear people all the time. She brings the receipts. She has the evidence. Like, okay,
what?
Well, let's look at what do you consider to be evidence. So if you look at flight logs and you say these flight logs are interesting, okay, you could present that as evidence of what.
Yeah,
like that's what I want. I can essentially conjure up just about anything as evidence of something suspicious.
Oh yeah.
But there's a big difference between I find this to be suggestive or I find this to be interesting versus this proves X. And that's the part that I'm seeing people throw around this word evidence as if it's proof of something that it isn't proof of. It might be interesting if you connect certain dots. It may whatever, but it's not evidence. And I guarantee you, nobody here would want to be convicted in a court of law based off of the evidence that has been presented. You would be furious. You would think it was a huge miscarriage of justice. And yet I'm watching people say, well, see?
I have a question for all the Candace fans out there. It's an honest question. You know, and I asked this question a couple times before, but why is it that she has a huge podcast and she's not getting banned? Nick Fuentes got banned on Spotify, not her. She's number one. She's on the front page of YouTube recommendations for everybody who subscribes. She gets millions of views. She gets massive live viewership. I thought it's actually her own words that if you criticize Israel, you'll get suspended, banned, and censored, but not her. Why is it that the person who claims that Charlie was betrayed is actually the one trying to destroy his legacy and the company that he built? Turning Point, Andrew Colvette and Erica and the rest, Tyler Boyer and the rest of them at Turning Point are fighting as hard as they can to keep Turning Point alive. You don't got to like Turning Point. I'm not saying they're good or great. I mean, they were under Charlie. I think they were fantastic as to where they are now. Like, we'll see what happens. Obviously, we're not going to be there, so I'm not. It's not like I'm happy with the direction it's going. But she's actively trying to destroy Charlie Kirk's legacy. So the question is, who really betrayed Charlie Kirk? Well, because if Charlie were still around, like if Charlie could speak, do you think he'd be like, "Oh, gee, thanks, Candace. Thank you for telling."
keep that same energy. You went onto a podcast, you lied about my relationship with Charlie. Insecure men speak like that. Okay. His only mission in life is to defend Zionism, to defend Zionists, and to attack people who don't like what Israel is doing, which is virtually everybody at this point. So
the Zionists are still lying about Candace Owens, and in particular, her popularity. Surprise, surprise. This time it's Adam Sosnick from the Patrick Bet-David podcast. And what's so ironic about this, and Candace Owens gets into it in this clip, is that it's pure projection on the most absurd level of
unconditional love. You can love someone through the Spirit, even though your flesh don't want to love that person. You do so by listening to your spirit, and your flesh follows your spirit. So you love them through God's love. This is the love that God has for the world, for everyone. And it is the love that we, as children of God, we have to imitate that love, because that is why we are the light of the world. Romans 5 verse 8. But God shows His love for us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Ask yourself this question. Will you give your life for someone else? You might say, well, for my husband, my wife, or someone in my family? Well, yes, maybe. No, that's not what I'm asking. Will you give your life for someone you don't know? For a sinner? That's a hard question, isn't it? That is God's love. That is unconditional love. And that is the love that God has for me and for you. And that is why
All right, all right. Oh yeah, now we got it going on. Okay. Look at all these millions of viewers. All right. So what am I waiting for? I'm waiting for Christians to come on here and talk to me about something that I think we need to do. Let's put it that way. Okay? All right, it's a great idea, I think. So I'm proposing this idea to you. I need the help of the Christian community to essentially, well, look, I got my own ideas of how far this can go, okay? I don't think in a limited way. But it's not about me, it's not about any one person, it's about all of us, right? And the reason why I'm reaching out to Christians is because, according to what their Jesus guy says, yeah, I think that's right. I think he is doing that. And I think there's room, you could say, to bring the type of, we got the internet, for crying out loud, right? We got all these tools and resources that we can use. This is kind of it seems like a no-brainer, and maybe I'm oversimplifying it, but I just don't think so. But I think part of that reason is because of, you could just say my belief in God. You could say it that way. I don't like to put it that way, but I'm saying it that way. Again, I'm going to have a little bit of a language difference between the way you guys put stuff and the way I see it. It's the same basic thing, but I'm not trying to convince you otherwise. It's just sometimes I'm going to use a Christian man's language rather than my language, just for the purpose of, being able to have the conversation. Because at the end of the day, I'm just more, science, technical, right? But there's also a technical and science aspect to the world of spirituality. And I'm going to always face that extraordinarily objectively. And to be honest with you, in ways that I believe the Jesus guy would understand. Okay? That's just my call based on again, what's at the center of all this, which is natural law principles, because at the end of the day, that's everything, right? So like when you say God, in my mind, to me, that's the way the universe works, right? Because a lot of times I think that that word and how you may use a, like to call it a hymn, right? That's a little, you know, that just doesn't seem right to me, because it's not something with a gender, right? And I think it's a lot bigger than what that kind of, there's a word for that, starts with an M. All right, so I'm not trying to get all off deep into that. What I'm trying to say is, you know, nobody's going to agree on everything, right? But we can agree on a lot of basic stuff. So I'm going to post this now. I'm still waiting for somebody to come up on my live and talk to me. Hasn't happened. It's all right. I'm going to keep posting until somebody will come on with me. But I'm going to put this up on TikTok and then hit record again and go through things to lay out the commonalities with Christians, okay? Again, this is, I want you to understand where I'm coming from and who I am, because I'm asking for your help. You know, who's this guy, right? Well, this is who I am, and this is where I'm coming from. We need to make unity the biggest number one thing. You guys are well placed to make that happen. It just has to happen. All right. So I'm gonna post this and then come back with another post. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Guess I can't go live.
That's okay. I'm not wasting my time. All right. So apparently, when I thought I was just recording here, I wasn't. So I was running my mouth. You know, if you were on the live chat, you could have heard me run my mouth about where I'm coming from. But it's okay. I'm gonna do this tomorrow too, and the next day after that, because I have to. Because I feel like I'm supposed to. I don't know how else to put it. It's hard to concentrate on anything else. I guess it's probably a lot to do because I'm selfish. This is why I'm selfish. It's because I'm really not. I said this before, and I'm having a hard time with this. All this fighting, you know, social media is a horrible place. All it is people telling each other how bad they are. Oh my God, you're such a bad person. Oh my God, you're such a stupid person. Oh my God, you're such a... It's just not okay. I don't like it. And X is really bad. I mean, my Facebook feed, you know, my liberal friends, they just, you know, they seem really angry. They get, you know, this politics stuff, people take it too seriously. And this division's just got to stop. I mean, there needs to be one of the two, the left and right, really need to extend the olive branch, and that's why I'm asking you guys, the Christians, to extend the olive branch. Now, I would say more like conservatives I should reach out to. And a lot of conservatives are like Christian based. So, but I'm talking about it in terms of religion just because there are a lot of religious aspects to this. But let me get in here with what I have in common for sure with the Christians, or at least what the philosophy teaches, which is very similar to what a lot of other. So the first one I have here is we are all one, right? Which is true. And you really have to understand that it's not just a saying. These things are serious, okay? It kind of has to do with science also too. There is a science aspect of this that, to be honest, even the government knows about. They spent money on figuring this stuff out. So it ain't no joke. It ain't no saying. Right? When you look at somebody, here's what I used to do. When I was, I guess, you could call it in training, whatever, spiritual crap that I guess I was put myself through, whatever. I said, okay, challenge. We're all one. So here's a great challenge. If I see somebody that I'm generally not going to think I'm alike or I got a problem with, what I'm going to do is take a deep breath and say that, take a deep breath really and understand that that person has a soul, has a spirit, they have a potential for love. I'm no different from them. They are me and I am them. You can do that. You can, in fact, if you are conservative, pull up, here's a challenge for you. Pull up who's somebody that conservative loves to hate on the left. Let's say Rachel Maddow. Picture Rachel Maddow in your mind, right? And practice understanding that she actually is a human being with a beautiful spirit and soul. And you can love that part of Rachel Maddow. I mean, it's a challenge, I know. I didn't say you should be able to do it. I said if you want to feel attached to humans as we are all one, that's a good exercise to practice getting over yourself or this idea and being more connected. Anyhow, we are all one. Government and second one, government and politicians are not working on behalf of the people. So, that's really obviously the left and the right can agree to that. This is a huge problem, guys. This is the problem. And look at what they're doing right now. And some people look into stuff deeper than others, right? If you believe that what's important is paying attention to the mainstream news, that's unfortunate because there's a lot of stuff going on in the background that, they got us not looking at because we're being distracted by all this other bullshit. But what's going on in the background, a lot of y'all know about it. And something that does kind of get mainstream talk is CBDCs, right? That's this digital world that they want to put us into, electronic cage kind of thing. And they're making pretty good progress on that. Look what they're doing out in the UK. They're rolling that stuff out really good. Plus, if you talk bad about what they're doing on Facebook, then you end up in jail in the UK. Oh yeah, that's because their constitution is not as strong as ours. But yeah, they do not work on behalf of the people. Clearly, that's a big problem, right? Again, that's our fault. Nobody else's fault. It's our fault together, not paying attention. All right, third one. We are being lied to and deceived constantly. If you look into the lies and the deception, they go back a long time. Long time. This just didn't start. It's a way, they keep the masses, we're the masses, manipulated. All right, number 4. We are stronger when we are united. United we stand, divided we fall. And this ties right into what their method is. It's like the saying, in order to control these people, we're going to have to keep them divided. You understand? It's like one of the most important things for them to keep, to get to where they want to go, which is what you could say where the devil wants to go. for sure. They need that. So, the best thing to stop this is to heal this wound. Okay. 5, this is a spiritual war. Is this not a spiritual war? Of course it's a spiritual war. So this is where I think that, where would a left-wing person, what would they disagree on this? So this is like the general proposed platform to keep us binded, right? Because I'm not talking about a party. Are you kidding me? Look, when you're talking about a party, that's part of the system, right? Say MAGA right now is associated with the Republican Party. So what MAGA can do is extraordinarily limited. But a party that consists of the left and the right with a platform, shoot, they can do anything. Plus, everybody else is going to jump on the bandwagon. And let me put it this way. You know, I'm going to stop this, and I'm going to stop this, post this on TikTok. Maybe there's room to put this and this closer together, but that's a good height. Oh well, anyhow, all right, I'm gonna just post this.
That's okay. I'm not wasting my time. All right, so apparently...
Join my YouTube live. Please join my YouTube live. Let's bring peace to the world.
Guess I can't go live. Well, I am going live. I am live on YouTube. I can't go live on TikTok yet, so...
All right, so to wrap up and just bring this, put a point on it. This is what I think a good starting point is for a platform of unity with the left. Now, as I thought about it, I do like We Are All One because it's true and it's unavoidable, and I do think that we probably might lose some because it sounds, religious, because a lot of the liberals don't like that about the Christians. I used to be one of those people who didn't like that about the Christians. Not anymore. We are all one because it's just unavoidable. We are all one, so I can't drop that. We can't drop that one. Government and politicians are not working on behalf of the people. We are being lied to and deceived about everything. We are strongest when we are united. United we stand, divided we fall. And this is a spiritual war. Now, there's other things you could add on here, but look, it's kind of like cutting the head off the snake. You can't deal with anything. Well, first of all, these problems were caused by them. All right, they went around. We wouldn't have Al Qaeda. We wouldn't have what happened in the Middle East last couple of years. If it wasn't for them, we'd probably all be doing pretty good, peacefully. That's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is kind of true also, is that the good and the bad coexist, right? It's the yin and yang. And yeah, that's in line with, you know, the way the world works, spirituality. You'll never have, and I'm not sure that the universe wants to ever have one be always there. Like, you can't get rid of the dark. The good comes out when the dark is around. They work together. You know, there's no shadows without light kind of thing. And that's not easy to kind of, it's not easy to integrate, you know, into who we are. These kind of higher concepts of good and evil. I don't mean higher like too high for people, but I mean, a lot of people don't be thinking about this stuff all the time, right? They just try to go to work and, you know, feed for their family and kids. But there's a lot of deep stuff behind these concepts of good and evil. I like to think of this actually as being thankful to them. Who do I mean? I mean the people who are always trying to kill people and stuff like that, like war, whatever, you know. These are truly evil people, make no mistake. They don't give a damn about you. They just want to do what they want. If that means killing people, so what? You know, they're just in the way in the first place. These are how actual people think. I know a lot of people don't understand that that's a real thing, you know. And they take your money. They take money out of your pocket and say, okay, great, now we can afford to go kill some people. This is what happens. It's just, so, you know, it's been at least a good 40, 50 years overdue to do something about getting these evil people out of our country. But it is a choice. It is a choice. That's for sure. And right now, we've chosen to play these games. We've chosen to ignore. We've chosen to believe that we can't do anything about it. These are all simply choices. That's why you guys don't understand, or maybe you do, how easy it would be to stop all this. I think it really would be easy. And I'm not speaking you know, hyperbolically. I don't think. Maybe you might think I am, but I don't think I am. It's very realistic, because if you really understood what the power is that we have, it would be obvious that, whatever, maybe it's not, I don't know, but it does seem, honestly, it does seem that simple to me. That's just me, maybe not you. But, you know, the evil guys, they're very, very limited in their ability to, like, create. You know what I mean? They rely on us for our energy. If they don't have our energy, then they crumble. You know, they're not connected to God's source. So they have to do everything in their power that they can do to make sure that we remain ignorant and remain divided. This is the number one thing. I do like how people are learning. I think that's great. Just we need to sprinkle some love on all that learning, because power is love times knowledge. That's just what it is. It's a power factor. That's how it works. It's not my opinion. To be a little bit more specific about that, I'll tell it like it is. You know, I said it before, I said it a million times. The reason why it is because, you know, you have a light that's interdimensional. And in order to power light, you gotta have power, right? So what is it, power? Well, it's two things. It's power from here that's measurable. You can measure it. The brain waves. Also power of the heart, which is also measurable. They do measure it. These two, you can call them instruments, put out scalar waves, right? And they have it's interdimensional shit. Let's put that way, right? This is the essence of like the machine, the bio-dimensional machine that we are. That's like the basic essence of it, right? And it's pulling through all this God energy we don't even know we have. And these people, they know we have it, and their job is to suck that up. That's their job. Especially if they tell you that they're doing it, which they do. You know, this isn't, you know, I didn't come up with this. This isn't my opinion. I know a lot of people think that that's how you see it or whatever, but you know, this is the way it is. Make no mistake. That's why they took the book of Enoch out of the Bible, because of this. It's presumed that that's why, because it gets at the heart of how the evil sucks the energy out of the people. Parasites and stuff like that. But anyhow, just more on where I'm coming from. I'd like to talk about these specific points that I think we can agree with as we promote this brand called The Left and Right Must Unite. Why? Because it's true. They must. The live stream was really fun. Sorry if you missed out. See you tomorrow. Alright, what's going to be the easiest way to do this?
message for the kids. Hey kids, what's up? Hey, I want to talk to you about something. On behalf of maybe not all adults, but a lot of adults, I apologize. What do I apologize for? Reason why I apologize is because I haven't been doing my job as an adult to pay attention to what's going on in the world, to make sure you're kept in a good environment. I haven't been doing that. I've been caught up in my bullshit. I've been caught up in this political left versus right game and not paying attention to important stuff like, I don't know, college debt, affordability, health stuff. If I had been doing what I'm supposed to do and paying attention, you'd be in a better situation right now. So, really, I do apologize for that, okay? Hey, I got a message for the kids.
Practice now. Practice mode is available. An error occurred. Am I supposed to practice? Welcome to practice mode. Alright, what is all this about? Go live, add now. Settings in practice mode may not be applied to your next live. What is it that I'm practicing? An error has occurred. Mirror your video. Alright, what are these for? Co-host. You can invite creators or request them to join others who are live to create live content together. That's cool. What is multi-guest? So my stream hasn't ended? Are you for real? That's what it looks like. No, it's not what it looks like. I'm totally confused. I am pretty confused right now. Is this guy still running his mouth? Or did I put in the URL? You know, here's some kids.
Exposed our immigration asylum disaster. That was the tip of the iceberg. Now here's the story. DOJ has found that immigration gave a work authorization document to illegals just 5 months after they filed for asylum. That document allowed them to work while they waited to hear whether their asylum request had been accepted or denied. So they could work as an illegal, knowing it would take years before their case was heard. The Immigration Department mailed them a Social Security number. No interview, no proof of identity. Just put it in the mail. Here's your number. In 2021, DOJ says 270,000 new aliens were issued Social Security numbers, 590,000 in 2022, 964,000 in 2023, and 2.1 million in 24, right before Biden left office. DOJ also discovered that 1.3 million aliens are now receiving Medicaid. Millions received driver's licenses, some registered to vote, and DOJ says some actually did vote. Try and square that against Democrat claims that Musk is destroying Social Security and cutting Medicaid. He's not destroying, he's weeding out people who don't qualify. Who is really guilty of misinformation in this case? It is not Elon Musk.
2 million in 2024 is crazy.
That's literally buying votes.
That is. From 270,000 when you entered office to 2 million, you 10x'd it.
So every year, y'all multiplied.
Double.
As the election,
It's about double per year.
That's facts. As the election creeped up, so what was that
Need
time?
some more.
We need everybody.
Need some
2
more.
million.
They was like, all right, we did this number last year, we gotta double it.
What were they all saying when Trump was deporting them? Oh my gosh, look at this dude. He's tearing families apart. Their voters are very emotional, so they got on their emotions whenever Trump had to deport the people they purposely illegally brought and used as pawns for their political gain.
Their voters are just
they just want to support this. I don't understand why. Like, why are we ignoring the fact that they're illegal? Like, why do they get the same benefit as legal people?
Illegal. It's illegal.
You know, it's interesting because the Democrat Party is moving towards socialism, and illegal immigrants can't pay taxes, so they wouldn't be feeding into that system that they want everybody to have.
I guess if you're American first, that makes you a Nazi. So 1.4 million illegals.
So how much money does that add up to?
On Medicaid. Oh, probably.
Can we ask Grok?
Millions and billions. It's probably billions, actually.
Whoa!
$44 billion.
Whoa!
Net taxpayer burden. $512K for a child.
$44 billion they just shat away.
In no way you can say that's American first, bro.
Oh,
These people,
not at all.
Democrats just aren't American first, bro. America first. That's just what it is.
They just want votes and power.
Yes.
That's literally all they want.
So that's why I just have to say the voters are emotional, like you said.
Yes.
And retarded. I'm sorry, I just have to say
So the Treasury thing too, though. You remember the Treasury thing when there was like $1 trillion they couldn't account for?
Yeah, that was.
Was that ever settled?
Nah, they just said we can't
Lost
find
$1 trillion there, $44 billion there.
That 44 billion is probably part of that trillion.
Pentagon, I think, lost $1 trillion.
That's insane. That's money that's being stolen.
Somebody got it.
No, that's money that's being stolen. That money is being stolen.
Hamas, Al Qaeda,
Politicians. No, that money's being stolen. That's the only way it makes sense.
His rich government friends. We appreciate you, Elon. We do. And the whole Doge department.
And more billionaires voted for Kamala. I remember PBD did that study.
But is it heating up for Tim Walz in Minnesota? Democrats are getting exposed more and more every day.
But with loose rules, it led to widespread fraud. And you can see there, balloon in federal payments headed to Minneapolis to north of $100 million in just a few years. 6 of the people charged in that fraud, members of the Somali community. And then perhaps the most egregious and offensive of all, the autism scam, where a woman in the Somali community has been accused of recruiting children for therapy that they did not need, driving a surge in Medicaid claims. Look at the screen, look at the numbers, look at the explosion of federal dollars on the backs of fake autism.
Wow.
Now, the Times points out all this raises broader questions about the sustainability of Minnesota's not Somalian, but Scandinavian modeled system. That's a robust safety net bankrolled by High Texas. Now, that system created an environment that drew immigrants to the state over many decades, including tens of thousands of Somali refugees after their country descended into civil war in the 1990s. Did Governor Tim Walz have any idea what was happening in his state?
Do you take responsibility for failing to stop this fraud in your state?
The reason why this type of discussion is it's really frustrating. You know, I've been kind of paying attention real close to this called media thing forever, right? And the whole thing, especially since I want to say the early 90s is when it got really bad. The fuck is that? Okay, now how do I end it? No. An error occurred. So it's not really letting me go live.
Ford Mach-E, yeah, because his wife is buried in this thing. They said they should have leased it, but they bought it.
I regret buying my Tesla. Never thought I would say this, but it messed up today.
I wrote it. I rented a Tesla to do Uber. It was, I wouldn't buy one. I wouldn't buy any electric vehicle.
Going on in Cincinnati, Ohio, at this little Midwestern university. We're not 1, 3, or 5.
But that's just me. I might want to do that type of thing. You could say I am getting off track a little bit. But why is it showing this? I'm not watching this. Is this from like yesterday? What's going on here? Oh, okay. This is how, all right. So I gotta make sure I get this up. So this Tim Walz thing is nothing but bullshit. Look, I know a lot of people think that all these politicians and stuff here are here to do their job, which is to hook us up. It's just not the case. It just isn't true. That doesn't mean there aren't some good politicians. These good politicians I'm telling you about, I learned from them. You know, because there are some good, well-meaning people, and they get kicked out. They get kicked out, and then maybe even if they went too far, they make up some story about them like they did a bad thing, so they go out in disgrace. They do that intentionally. It happens all the time. But when they do leave, they'll come back and they'll talk to reporters because they've got inside knowledge. But this isn't the type of stuff that people will hear. But these people will talk about their experiences as that, you know, while in office or whatever, you know, they'll tell the truth about it. No, I mean, I know that, look, Kamala Harris's book does not count. It's not because I got anything against Democrats. It's just because I know she's not a real person. You know what I mean? Very few of these people are real people. It's one of the reasons why Trump, because it, you know, he seemed more like a real person. You know, what's his name? Clinton. When I was a kid, I didn't know stuff, you know, I liked him. He seemed like a real person. Do you know what I'm saying? And Barack Obama, I know people think he's such a, I'm not seeing what they're saying with Barack Obama. He seems really fake. He's always seemed, to me, to be super fake. I know, I call myself good at smelling out fake. And first time I saw Barack, remember when they were putting him on the camera as this new upcoming, you know, senator? It was like, even back then, I didn't like him. Never liked Obama. I voted for him because I figured if I didn't vote for the black president, I would feel bad too. It was more like insurance, I guess, or out of guilt, out of obligation. That's why I voted for Barack Obama. You know, of course I wouldn't do that now. But since I did vote for whatever, that was the last time I voted, because that was when I was really starting to understand. I mean, I knew it was bad, but I didn't know it was that bad as it is, as far as what's in DC and the way it works and all that. I knew it was bad, but then I found out how really bad it was. And it's pretty bad. I don't think people realize how bad the evil that exists, that controls our government is. I think if people understood it, I'm not sure what it would take to get the people to do what they need to do, which is the left and right must unite, which is an easy one, but it's really bad. Tim Walz, he's not a real person. His job is to fill a role. This is the guy I am. What do the people who own my ass want me to say? He's a prostitute. She's a prostitute. He's a prostitute. This discussion here is garbage. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. It is the most useless bullshit drivel that you could ever have. The MSNBC news gal's job is to be a journalist. This is not her job. She's a character. She's playing a role. Tim Walz's job is not to govern. Is it Minnesota? It is not his job. His job is to be a good boy and take orders. And the puppet up both of these people's asses is basically the same person. You got somebody like going like this. It's all scripted. Even when it doesn't seem scripted, it's scripted. Anyhow, but I think a lot of people are realizing that. A lot of people, they can't handle that. They're so addicted to, say, Fox News or MSNBC. There's always got to be watching.
Well, certainly I take responsibility for putting people in jail. Governors don't get to just talk theoretically. We have to solve problems. And I will note, it's not just Somalis. Minnesota is a generous state. Minnesota is a prosperous state, a well-run state. We're AAA bond rated, but that attracts criminals. Those people are going to jail. We're doing everything we can. But to demonize an entire community on the actions of a few, it's lazy.
An embarrassment of an appearance on television on the heels of an embarrassment running the state of Minnesota.
Yeah, because that's not what's being done. Not degrading a whole community, but that's the angle that they play. I mean, let's put myself in my old liberal shoes. I don't even think I was that bad then, to be honest with you. I was always pretty reasonable on race issues. I mean, it is what it is, right? There's nothing you can do about it. I grew up with a diverse community of people, that's for sure. And I thought it was interesting. There's observations to be made. There's things that you can learn, things that you can learn about yourself. But I know the bad guys want to get everybody into putting everybody into fear mode that your neighbor's going to come get you. And all right, so let's watch a little bit more of this.
Damn. I don't think he took any credibility. Like,
did you see what the workers union of Minnesota said about him?
I mean,
they said it's 100% his fault.
These Somalians are the leaders of the Somalians in that community. So I mean, you can't make a statement like that.
Well, I think if it's your fault, just be a man, accept accountability, be like, man, we really dropped the ball right here. We're gonna try to do better. I don't know what he didn't take no accountability though.
It's kind of like the leaders of Hamas. Hamas made everybody be punished. So if you're a leader of a group, it's going to trickle down for you.
Look what the government employees in Minnesota said. Click that blue arrow.
If our government mess up, it's going to trickle down on us.
Look what they said. Click on that. It's a long paragraph they posted. Now go back. You didn't hit the right thing. It said, Tim Walz is 100% responsible for the massive fraud in Minnesota. So they let him know and he let it happen. This is a whole thing where they talk about it. Exposed him. This is his own democratic government.
We dodged a bullet, guys. Imagine how much fraud and abuse Kamala and Tim would have done, guys. He can't even control his own state.
Look, he said, as staff, we witnessed it firsthand, observed the fraud, and were shut down, reassigned, and told to keep quiet. Ooh. So they said it discriminated against certain.
Yeah, I myself, I don't like to get caught up in these little things. But I know a lot of people do. This is all just theater. Really, it's one guy with both his hands up both of those people's asses, talking to each other, putting on a show for us. And in this particular case, right, the goal there is to give the liberals what they want, which is, it's just because the people are racist. You know, this is the media's job. It's just to gin up people's emotions and get them fighting. That's what they do. So it really upsets me when I hear people hear something and they get upset and I go, well, don't you realize you've just been mind controlled? Because you can't get upset unless you're afraid of something, and that's what all the mind control stuff is based on, fear. They're really good at it. These people's jobs has nothing to do with telling you anything.
Communities, and they were unwilling to take action and stop the fraud to protect their image.
You see, it's always the virtue signalers who pretend to care about some type of community that they really don't care about. They just do that for their own political.
We're hiring right now for.
Basically, when you break it down, you gotta know who your enemy is. You gotta know what your enemy's methods are. I know who the enemy is. That's right. And I know what their methods are. One of their methods is psychological control, psychological operations. The biggest nut in the world is people's minds, right? Once you can control people's minds, you can turn that into everything, monetize that all day. And if you're one of those people allowing them to control your mind, then, you know, that's a choice, right? Because if you ever feel something from something you see on TV that makes you so happy or so mad, a lot of times it's really bad, well then, you know, you've probably been manipulated. And a lot of us, we're getting tired of playing that game, so I'm out.
The lesson there, though, is actually, and I talk to people about this a lot, you have to be really thoughtful in real estate about what you can afford to lose. And
God really knows what he's doing. Little brown girl.
The missile. We got 911. Hold on to. We got 911. Hold on.
They see the smoke.
These people's dumb shit.
For Michigan, I need about 15 to 20 drivers.
Or any type of benefit.
And we're not going to forget about that murderer that you appointed, Tim Walz, that murdered a politician.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. That's been kind of swept under the rug.
I don't even remember that.
Bro, yeah.
He pulled up and shot them 2 politicians at their home.
For voting on abortion?
I remember that.
He had the No King stuff in the car.
So what happened? He got in trouble, though.
Yeah,
he got arrested.
Yeah, he's arrested.
Vance Bolter, I think his name was, something like that.
But he was hired by Tim Walz before that?
That's what he said, yeah, that's what he claimed.
caawa aan fursad u helay
madaxweynaha Soomaaliya madaxweyne Xasan Sheikh Maxamuud inaan maanta ku soo dhaweyno Minneapolis aniga iyo madaxweynaha special relationship aan qabnaa aniga adeeraan ugu wacaa asigana gabarta
She sounded like she said that a lot. Hold on, though. This is crazy, guys. So they're welcoming the president of Somalia to Minnesota. That's an invasion, bro.
That's his state. He been running the state.
Y'all go over there and y'all handle business.
He is the governor of the state.
You see what the dude that got hit with the fraud? He flee right back to Somalia.
Cause ain't nothing gonna happen
I
to
got
him.
the president.
Nothing gonna happen to him.
Damn, bro.
You see the video of the dude that fled? He posted a video of him crying in Somalia. So I can't do this. I'll pull it up.
Bro.
Pull it up, bro.
Yeah, please pull that up because people been like, I've been seeing a lot about Somalia over X, and people have been like posting videos in Somalia talking about conservatives just not realizing Somalia is beautiful.
The land may be, but have you seen Captain Phillips? Have you seen it?
Yes.
I'm the captain now.
I just sent the video of a dude who got deported.
They are pirates, not all of them.
madaxweyne Xasan Sheikh Maxamuud inaan maanta ku soo dhaweyno Minneapolis aniga iyo madaxweynaha special relationship aan qabnaa aniga adeeraan ugu wacaa asigana gabarteeda madaxweyne sidii qof kasta uu yiri mininkaaga waaye ku soo dhawow